What's the basis for spaceships except for conveyance to escape the matrix? No, but it's more than you've seen it do. I promise you that my bars is rap genius proof, and I'd rather take the scenic route. I'm not the type that you see in groups. Hey everybody, welcome to Hold This Mic. I'm Akil Vix, and I'm here with
Josh Burchard.
And we are, as always, in South Philly, in the heart of the working class area of people who fight for what's right and uphold strong American values.
That's right.
But yeah, we haven't been here in a while. We've been kind of busy doing things, but there's always news, and in the era of Trump, there's always things to talk about. So let's talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, so I guess one of the big things to talk about is Trump's promised, I guess not repeal, but reversal of DACA, the Deferred Action for childhood arrivals for children of undocumented immigrants who were brought to this country, didn't have a choice in it, and Obama gave them a lifeline, gave them, this 2-year window grace period to register, apply, and they were, promised that they wouldn't be deported, they would get IDs, they'd be able to contribute to society, and a lot of them did. And now Trump's gonna roll it back because the scary black man did it, and everything the scary black man did needs to be reversed. But so what do you think? What do you think? Do you think he's going to follow through on this? He's said that nothing's going to happen within 6 months, and he's told everyone. Matter of fact, it came out that Nancy Pelosi told him to let everyone know that they're fine for 6 months. So you think he's going to follow through on this? Is this posturing?
I think he's probably there's no way of trusting him that he will follow through with anything. So I think, if all factors stay the same as they are right now, then there's a chance that he would follow through, if everything stays the same. But if something comes up that tweaks his brain a certain way, or touches a certain part of his clearly expressed dislike of people south of the Rio Grande, let's say, he would be, I think there was a period where, during his campaign, where he would just say, Mexican immigrants illegal immigrants are rapists and murderers, and that kind of language is just clearly an indication that he has, and from what we know after what he said after Charlottesville, from what we know what he said after,
his life, basically.
Countless other times, he's filled with hatred based on race and ethnicity. So it wouldn't be my surprise. It wouldn't be a surprise to me at all if if something comes up and he reverses this decision. He retracts his, working with Democrats at all, which, he did as a stunt, partly because in the past he considered himself a Democrat, I guess.
Yeah, and he donated to quite a few Democratic campaigns.
He donated to Democratic campaigns. I mean, I guess the DACA policy, he said everyone's fine for 6 months as part of a deal, but I don't think he's interested in granting any amnesty, really. I think though that if it were politically advantageous enough for him to grant amnesty and to reinstate DACA in order to get back at someone else, like some Republicans or, Mitch McConnell or Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
He there's a chance, he would do it for those type of reasons, the most petty reasons. Well, but
that's the thing about this move is that, ostensibly he's trying to say that he the way that Obama did it was lawless, or whatever bullshit he's trying to say about it, which is ironic because it's the same way he passed his Muslim, or he like enacted his Muslim ban. Is, you know, the president has executive power over immigration policy. But, you know, he said that Obama did this lawlessly, so he's rescinding it and tossing it back to Congress in order for them to do something about it. And that really screws over the Republican Congress, because now they're under pressure to pass the DREAM Act. And, you know, the Democrats want to pass the DREAM Act. If you know, they steal a couple moderate Republicans in like purplish districts.
So so fill me in, because what's the difference between DACA and the Dreamers Act?
So I'm not completely, I know I should have read this before we started talking about it. But from what I understand, the DREAM Act is just basically enshrining even more than what DACA was, but in passing a law in order to do it. So it's just like
so DACA's like a stopgap.
But DACA's a stopgap, and this is a pathway to citizenship for illegal immigrants who meet a certain criteria, you know, haven't committed crimes, or, you know, have jobs, or join the army, or in college. When DACA was passed, it was supposed to have, not passed, but when DACA was enacted, they were also supposed to have another program for the parents of the kids, and that was like nixed before anyone could, you know, anything could happen. So yeah, the DREAM Act would just be actually making this a law and giving a pathway to citizenship to the millions and millions and millions of undocumented immigrants in the country. And there's reasons why, you know, this has been held up in gridlock. You've got your Republican talking point line of like, oh, well, you know, we are a country of laws, and these people broke the law, they need to be deported and get back in line. But we all know it's bullshit. The reason why we don't ever do immigration reform is because half of our economy, our agricultural economy, is based on cheap, undocumented immigrant labor. You can pay undocumented immigrants or whatever you want. You can have them in horrifying conditions. They can't call OSHA. They can't call the cops.
Nope.
And this is why our vegetables and fruits are so cheap.
Right.
So that's the real reason why we haven't passed immigration reform.
And apparently the jobs that some migrant workers do are literally so hard and so grueling that you won't find Americans who will do that for like minimum wage even.
No.
They're doing it for below minimum wage.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, what did I hear about migrant workers who work in orchards, you know, climbing up ladders that stretch like 40 feet into the air, like, you know, going up, picking apples that, you know, their baskets end up weighing like 40 pounds by the time they're full, and then they come back down, you know, down the ladder with a 40 pounds basket of apples on their back, and they go back up. Yeah. And they do that for like 12 hours straight.
Yeah. And this is the not so secretly kept secret of America, is that we have literally never had a time in our country's history where we didn't subside on low wage or famously free labor. And this is just the latest form of it.
Right.
And so what Trump's doing, you know, I don't think Trump's smart enough to realize the dynamic he's stumbling into. I think he's just trying to, like, you know, appease his base because he can't get a win.
To him, it's a political move.
Yeah,
That's,
you know,
probably before it's like he's not sitting in his, you know, in the Oval Office thinking, oh, you know, like, what are the plight of these workers? Certainly not. He's not sitting in his office thinking like, how does this affect the U.S. economy? No, he's not thinking about that.
Yeah.
He's thinking like, you know, you know, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell didn't do what I told them to, even though he doesn't know how the hell it works to be a president and pass a law.
Right.
And now that that's happened, I need to as part of my order of the deal, like I need to like
He's trying to force their hand.
I need to like force their hand.
Yeah.
I need to like switch to the other side for a little while.
Yeah.
And any Democrat that falls for it and thinks that it's going to
Yeah.
last or be dependable is fooling themselves. But
Right,
you know.
and then he already did it with the debt ceiling deal.
Yeah.
They raised the debt. He collaborated with the Democrats
Right.
to raise the debt ceiling.
That's
And hey, smart political move on Trump's part. I'll give him that. That's a pretty suave move. It definitely screws over the Republicans.
it screws the Republicans,
And he's gonna
which is fine.
Yeah. If I was like a head of a foreign state and Trump visited, I think I would I give him gifts and you get all those jewel encrusted daggers when you go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I think I would get him like the box set of Schoolhouse Rock. Like when a bill becomes a bill. I think that would really help him out.
Yeah. I think he's also. I don't see how he can burn his bridge with Republicans, which are his only supporters, because no Democrats support Trump,
Yeah.
basically. And I don't think any true Democrat, which is like, and by that I mean like almost anyone who's like a registered Democrat and voted for him, and then even some Republican voters who don't like Trump. I don't see how they can, they would ever be like tricked into like liking Trump because he played ball with the Democrats.
I don't know. I feel like both sides in the situation, both the right and the establishment right and the establishment left, see Trump as like an opportunity, right? Like, I really think that a lot of the leadership, out in public, they're gonna say what they're gonna say, oh, not my president, hashtag the resistance, blah blah blah. But I really think that because they know them, these guys know Donald Trump. Donald Trump donated to Chuck Schumer. These
Right.
guys they know Donald Trump from way back, and they know that.
Well, you're talking about the politicians or the electorate?
The politicians.
Yeah.
And I think that I think Schumer, Pelosi, those guys, I think they really kind of believe that they can maybe get him to revert back to corporatist, centrist, I don't give a shit. Because at his core, he's just an opportunist. At his core, he's just doing whatever it takes.
But then wouldn't they be playing playing roulette with the devil, basically?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, why would Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer want to risk why would they want to risk the Democratic Party with this man who is very clearly insane and has no qualms about breaking any allegiance to anybody or any cause or any part of the country if it helps him advance himself?
Because I think they think they're smarter than him. I think and they might be a little bit more shrewd than the Republicans handled it. Maybe they think that okay, the Republicans thought they had this guy and they could just ride him to some tax cuts and a softball repeal and replace of Obamacare and they'd be fine. And partly the Republican Party has its own issues outside of Trump between their crazy far right base and their establishment base. A similar issue to what we have on the left, except that our far left group is basically England.
It's been isolated.
It's what I'm saying. Our far left group is basically the rest of the world. We're we're not. What passes for the far left in this country is to the right of Sweden, and we're acting like.
Yeah, right. And it's also has effectively under the campaign of Bernie Sanders, under which it coalesced, then it was marginalized in the media and elsewhere, given hardly any coverage, and essentially treated like it didn't matter, even though it was a left that was to the right of England or Sweden or whatever you want to.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great segue into something else that happened in the last couple weeks, mostly last week, that I have been sitting on this and burning with the passionate fire and fury. Hillary Clinton's new book.
You know, I heard you whispering when you were coming into the door about being displeased with Hillary Clinton's new book.
Slightly. I'm slightly miffed.
Slightly miffed.
Granted, the whole book isn't out yet. We're just going on excerpts, but whoa, what a doozy. So as yeah, I gotta collect my thoughts. I gotta
pull it together.
Gotta pull it together. So here we are. What are we? About 11 months out in since Trump was elected. You know, we're in 10 months. We're in September, whatever. Right. Hillary Clinton and her supporters are still bashing Bernie Sanders for her loss. 10 months or 11 months, however, I can't count because I'm so angry. However many months out from her losing the election, they're still bashing Donald Trump. And, you know, it's one thing if you've got a bunch of angry establishment media types who just are so, you know, apoplectic and verklempt that they just didn't win and they thought they were going to win. But it's another thing to have Hillary Clinton, this supposed to be a statesman, supposed to be like, you know, Mama Bear, the most mature, most prepared, most ready person in the room. When she comes out with a book, and I'm going to pull up it's going to give you some.
Yeah, let's hear it. What's the quote?
So here's some quotes here. Okay. So here we go. This is her talking about Bernie Sanders and the people who, you know, viewed her as too close to Wall Street. Because we agreed on so much, Bernie couldn't make an argument against me in this area on policy, so he had to resort to innuendo and impugning my character. When I finally... Yeah. When I finally challenged Bernie during a debate to name a single time I had changed my position or a vote because of financial contribution, he couldn't come up with anything. Nonetheless, his attacks caused lasting damage, making it harder to unify progressives in the general election and paving the way for Trump's crooked Hillary campaign. She's blaming Bernie Sanders for crooked Hillary.
Yeah.
What?
Right. Well, first talk about the first part of that she didn't have, that they agreed on so much that he had to resort to attacks on her character. So unfold that for a second.
Well, what she means by that is she had to tilt to the left to match Bernie so hard that it caused her head to spin and she got dizzy and she fell down and told everyone that it was just a cold. No, what it means is that, you know, she basically pandered and lied and said that, you know, she couldn't support a $15 minimum wage. She had to do a $12.50 minimum wage. She supported, you know, parts of Bernie's college plan. She couldn't go, you know, full Medicare for all. She had to have like this complicated, you know, market-based solution fix to Obamacare.
Right.
So, you know, she had all these things where she would just assert that she was like agreeing with Bernie, had the same policy as Bernie. And then when pressed on it, she would just get mad and get in a huff and leave. When she's talking about, you know, impugning her character about being too close to Wall Street is what she's referring to, being too close to Wall Street. And she asked,
and having paid speeches at Goldman Sachs and other places and not divulging the transcripts.
Yeah. So, you know, she's referring to a specific debate where she like directly confronted Bernie about like, when have I ever changed my opinion based on money that I received from Wall Street? And so here's the thing. Before that debate, Bernie Sanders went on the Young Turks. Shout out to the Young Turks. And Cenk asked him like, hey, why don't you go more, you know, be more direct about what you mean about Hillary being too close to Wall Street? And he said, you know what? I don't want to run that campaign. That's Bernie's. He didn't want to run that campaign. He didn't want to attack her. He doesn't attack her.
Yeah, he didn't attack her.
Goes on to lose the election.
Yeah.
And then she still blames him for attacking her.
Right.
So if you want to know when Hillary took money and changed her position, it's called the student loan bankruptcy bill that she supported when she was the first lady, and she wanted students to be able to discharge their debt in bankruptcy.
Right.
And once she, ran for Senate in upstate New York, where a lot of bankers live, and she started getting that good, sweet, nice campaign donation crack.
Right.
All of a sudden, she wasn't really for the, being able to discharge student loan debt in bankruptcy. There it is. Boom, right there. You're done, son. Sit down.
Yeah.
But Bernie wanted to take the high road. Didn't do it. But
or maybe in the heat of the moment, I don't want to clown Bernie, but like he might have forgot just in that moment, like
maybe
what the bill was.
Yeah, look, Bernie's getting up there, man. Like you can't blame him.
Bernie might have been a little fuzzy at the moment.
He probably stopped through Massachusetts on the way down. Probably got a little bit of like that nice.
Nice.
Yeah, a little herb, some Massachusetts herb. I don't know. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to.
We don't know.
No, we don't know. We might never know.
No, we might never know.
It's like Seth Rich. We're never gonna know.
No.
But
Bernie gets high.
But to see a mitigated gull of this woman to say that like Bernie attacked her when all throughout that primary, the only mainstream media coverage, the only way that pundits, the only way that her surrogates would address Bernie is with nothing but derision. It's all fairy tales and fantasy. All supporters are white guy misogynists. Which, hey, I'm white now, I guess. I don't know. That's great.
Yeah. Akil, what happened?
I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary, and all of a sudden
you knew when you signed up to support Bernie that you were going to become white.
They handed me my pleated shorts on the way out. They were like, "You're white now, sir," and thank you. My credit score went up, and it's great.
Yeah, police left you alone.
Yeah. I walked home. I was not afraid of anything. It was great. But so right now in what's going on in the world, right? Like, look at what's going on in the world. You got wildfires on the West Coast, burning down the West Coast. You got hurricanes coming through the Caribbean and like just killing the Gulf of Mexico and the southern states. Both events, more than likely made worse by climate change that we ignored as a. Then you got Trump with his, just using these poor undocumented immigrant kids as his political tool to either...
It's political, crowbar.
Crowbar, right, to either loosen up Congress. And, there's some people who think that he's holding this hostage to get funding for his goddamn wall. Either way, you got... And Trump's going to, in terms of North Korea, he's going to start a trade war with China,
right?
As a way to avoid nuclear war.
He would want to.
Yeah, all this stuff going on. Nazis. Let's never forget, Nazis are just marching down the streets now, and Hillary Clinton. In the midst of all this going on,
we're so divided already.
Yeah, you have to take the time to make sure to let everyone know it's not your fault.
Right, it's not your fault, and to be specific about because what I read, the New York Times had a write up on it, and there was a lot of specifics about how she just lashes out at Comey, for. Bringing up her emails again at the last minute before, which she shouldn't have done and probably did affect the campaign. But just dealing out blame to one entity after another, whether it's Comey. I think she blamed Trump, of course, like she should have. Actually, the one person she gave a little bit of credit to, ironically, in this article was Trump. She said, he is like a treacherous man, but still sometimes you can't look away from him. Oh my God!
All right, Hilary.
Actually, here, let's see if I could try to pull up the quote, but she's got a lot of nerve. Definitely. And she's got a lot of nerve.
And so here's the thing, as listeners may or may not know, I have a addiction to arguing with people on social media, and I get into it with some of these, these Hilary people, these Hilary stans, and it's always the same thing. It's always, it's time to unite the party. Why are you like attacking? Like you should, just fall in. You have to fall in line to unite. Like stop, right. Criticizing.
Right, which
Democrats.
is bad sort of stand to take on any issue. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's put aside the moral bankruptcy of just saying like, hey, don't worry about what you actually believe in or the policies you think will help America. Right. It's just better that we all agree.
That was something I would have said on the eve of the election, but like not at like a time like this.
I brought you to the dark side. You can just, I've convinced you.
You convinced me. I brought you over. I mean, I still understand why I voted for Hilary when I did, but yeah, no, I mean, politics can be a little fluid, I think.
So, but my point is like, these people never stop to consider that this kind of goes both ways, right? Like, they unrelentingly attacked the progressive wing, the far left wing, such as it is, of the party. They just went after, Bernie and the people that supported Bernie the entire time. No chill, no stop. After the primary is over, they made no attempt to heal that. They made no attempt to reach out to progressives.
Right.
They still just said, hey, it's over, you lost, get over it. That was the attitude that was directed.
Well, like, what were some of the platforms on which they were making that message to?
Just anyone that would dare criticize Hillary Clinton, anyone that would say like, hey, okay, now you're the nominee, maybe you should take a stand for a $15 minimum wage, or maybe you should, say something a little bit more definitive.
No, but what was the platform on which the establishment was chastising Bernie supporters?
Oh, just like how you turn on MSNBC, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, there it was sort of by virtue of the fact that they weren't covering Bernie at all.
Right, but after the primaries, like. And even till this day, I mean, like, just watch MSNBC, and if anything about Bernie Sanders comes up, you'll see like just the derision in their voice. Like they feel insulted that anyone would even dare put up a fight to Hillary for the nomination. They felt insulted by that. They felt that like, no, this was her time. This was, there shouldn't have been any opposition.
Right.
Like. Why did you come here? How dare you win some states? How dare you make it a contest?
Right.
Especially with this, this like actual progressive Democrat platform that we can't get behind.
Well, that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of his policies and what he stands for, because I don't think they're necessarily. I mean, sure, they're afraid of a candidate that wins as many votes as he did and that won states and etc. But I think they're also afraid of someone. I mean, in their minds, it's probably like, because to some extent, this was what was in my mind when I voted for Hillary, both in the primary and in the general, that Bernie's platform was too ambitious, and that getting it through Congress would never happen. And et cetera. Now I've heard other things since then about, Bernie, and in the polls it showed Bernie would have beat Trump. Like, that's one thing, so that would have been better, obviously. Then, we've been talking on this podcast about like incrementalism versus, laying out bold plans for change all at once. And, I don't feel like I have the answer to that, whether it's better to kind of chip away or stretch out a bold plan. But I do think that if you don't speak about bold things, you're not going to get any further in your bargaining process, even if you're just chipping away.
You have to be for something.
Yeah.
You have to, I don't think most people expect Bernie or anyone to come in the office and then just wave a magic wand and have their own political utopia. I mean, maybe Trump supporters did. I don't know. But I don't think most, adult, rational voters think that.
Right.
I think what people want is for someone to just to be for something. And Hillary Clinton, the way she ran her campaign, she wasn't for anything. She was running against Trump.
Well, she kind of ran a reflexive campaign, both with Bernie Sanders on one side and Trump on the other. So she was sort of like, her policy started out as pretty moderate, and then it sort of drifted towards Bernie Sanders. But I think the complex of the establishment, the Democratic establishment, is that they want those like Reagan Democrats back or whatever, and they want the center more than they want the base, and they'll do anything to. They'll do much more to keep that center, and it might be because I don't know. Maybe
I'll tell you why. And this is something I heard on Chapo Trap House. Shout out to Chapo. There's a reason why they want the center more than they want the base, because if they get the center to vote for them, then they can do whatever they want. They don't owe the center anything, because the center doesn't have the center. The
center is like content already.
Content, exactly. Yeah. Like these, So then they don't have to change their policies, and they can keep the free market as it is. And right, there's no pressure on them from their center, because the center is mainly like people who are comfortable and like who want incrementalism, who just want a little tweak here, a little tweak there, maybe lower my taxes here, maybe raise my taxes there. I don't know, but it's something where they don't have people who are desperate and like need something from them.
Right,
and that's what they tried to go for in this election, and it was a terrible miscalculation. And what this excerpt from the book what the book says, and then there's the whole Verret thing, which, I don't really feel like going through the whole thing, but it's this incredibly stupid platform that one of her operatives, this guy, Peter Dow, came up with. And, it's supposed to be I think he calls it the media platform for the 68 million, however many people voted for Hillary Clinton.
Oh, God.
And all it is just like little quotes that are on these little cards, and the cards.
I saw that.
You have a little verification code, and then you can plug it into the website and see that it's true. But then all the facts that you're verifying are just quotes from Hillary Clinton and her surrogates. It's like Joy Reid, Hillary Clinton said this or whatever, and then you plug it in the Verret, see that it's true. It's incredibly stupid.
It sounds like incredibly sort of like self-congratulating, and
you can say masturbatory.
Masturbatory.
Yeah, they're jerking it off. They're rubbing one out.
Yeah.
But what all this in the last week has kind of like made me think is that like these are the Democrats that the Republicans are talking about. When we have these crossy owl fights, and you hear people talk about like, oh, well, the liberals don't care about personal responsibility, and the liberals just blame everybody else for their problems, and I'm as a progressive liberal, I hear that and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, there's real structural, these are real things that are.
One thing is like people in power who are doing well tend to have a strong positive bias towards how they see how things are going. So they see statistics, they see job growth, and they think, whoa, look, we added 150,000 jobs this month, and maybe that's not as much as that last month, but that's good. But I think it's sort of like part of like a way of seeing, confirmation bias, and seeing progress because you want to see progress, and what you're missing is that wages haven't gone up. There are people all over this country, in big cities, small towns, like desert outposts, like struggling really bad financially. I mean, making very little and working a lot. And And you don't focus on that. It's just as simple as, wow, that's a shame. I wish we could do something about that, but we can't.
Right.
Let's focus on,
because outside of your bubble.
Yeah, let's focus on how great our northeastern colleges and universities are doing right now in producing,
how much Wall Street's great. Yeah, Wall Street's doing good. Yeah.
Right, or how good Wall Street's doing. I mean, I think like in that group, there's a variety of interests, and that not all people are like, yay, Wall Street. Like, I don't think it's that simple. But I think that there is a tendency for people who have succeeded and earned a middle income or above, that they don't want a downer in their life, thinking about how abject life is for so many people in this country, and they'd rather focus on like getting their senior in high school son or daughter into MIT or Harvard, and how they'll be a global citizen, and they'll be in such a diverse student body, and it'll be so exciting, and they'll make change in the world. But essentially what they're talking about is that with some exceptions, because some people from those areas do make incredible things happen, but from the government perspective, which is where it has to happen, they're not coming up with a plan to reform government to the extent it needs to be reformed.
Yeah, they're not doing shit. But I think, like, it's just when confronted with that reality, I think they turn into those caricatures of liberals that conservatives always put up as like, oh, this is what the liberals want. The liberals they're snowflakes. They're easily offended. They're
bleeding heart.
They're bleeding. They blame everyone else for their problems instead of picking personal. Like this Hillary Clinton book and like the entirety of Verret, wherever the fuck Verret is them blaming other people for their like, I hate Hillary Clinton for making me use the phrase personal responsibility unironically.
Yeah.
Like, I hate like the concept of personal responsibility in a country where everything is so systematic and is so But Hillary Clinton needs to take some goddamn personal responsibility.
Yeah, she does. No, I mean, I'm a fan of personal responsibility, but I'm a fan of understanding the difference between where your personal responsibility ends and where all the responsibility that society has to, its citizens starts.
Yeah.
So,
Right, and that's what most liberals believe.
Right.
But I feel like, this ruling class of the Democratic Party does provide a really good punching bag for the right, because they're snowflakes. I mean, I don't know how else you can describe this book and Verret if not just straight up snowflake behavior, and not the kind that,
What is define snowflake? Just
someone that can't handle hard truths and they're just gonna melt, and what the right uses it to like, when someone who is, trans wants to be called by their proper pronoun, or someone, a women wants a safe space on campus from sexual assault. They're like, oh, you guys are snowflakes and you just can't handle it. Your world's tough. And that's bullshit. And we should fight it.
You're still happily using the word.
Well, when it applies to Hillary Clinton right now,
No, yeah. But come on, there's a lot of liberals who are not snowflakes at all.
I would venture to say most of us aren't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the people that represent the party in the media, the people that are going out and claiming to represent
But
us.
it's not our job as liberals to posture any differently so that like conservative talk show hosts don't have fodder for their like they're like making fun of.
No. I'm just saying that these.
But as a thing in and of itself, yes, like we have a responsibility to like be the best that we can be.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that these liberals, in acting like this, especially when it comes to like the left, when it comes to the left, they're not, you're not helping anyone. You're just, making yourself feel good and making yourself, and it's
very self-centered.
It's self-centered, and it's this New York, Washington bubble that they're all in. They all go to the same parties, go to the same restaurants. They all have drinks with the same people.
Yeah, they're very powerful.
They're very powerful, and they they're entitled. They're entitled as fuck. And like, when Republicans call, millennials entitled for, God forbid, wanting to be able to like earn a living wage when they graduate college, like, we should say stop. That's bullshit. But if you want to talk about actual entitlement, it's hard to make a case that Hillary Clinton wasn't feeling entitled to the presidency.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. She had already been in the race against Obama in 2008. Yeah. 2012.
Yeah. And we don't have to like go over like how terrible of a campaign she ran. We all know what she did and didn't do. But I think it's just it's important to note, because these are the fuckers in our way, right? These are the people. It's not really the Republicans. The Republicans are going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah, we can't change them.
We can't change them. They're going to want tax cuts. They're going to scare their base with scary tales of brown people coming to steal their children.
Right.
But what we do have some measure of control over is who represents our side of the political spectrum. Right. And it can't be these assholes anymore.
No.
Because this is pretty, it's pretty like disgusting on like a kind of a visceral level. Like, people are actually suffering, and like, you need to take the time to let everyone know how much this whole Trump world isn't your fault. Go somewhere, Hilary. Like, you have a great life. Yeah. Go sit down somewhere.
Right.
No one needs you out here.
No,
you're
we
good.
We don't need her.
Yeah, like, just go enjoy your life.
We don't need her, God forbid, running for office anymore.
She did come out and say that she wasn't going to run anymore, but I'll believe that when I see it. I watch Veep. All right, I know how these things go.
Yeah. All right. Well,
let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Yeah. All right, let's hold this mic and we'll be back.
You basically escaping from hallucination. Making do with fake is just a new vacation. So it seems so concerned with the scene. I prefer a lucid dream on. Dream of nights like these, dream of taking flight. Dream of heights like these, dreams is fucking nice. Get right like me, I'ma be alright. Man, I do this nightly, yeah. You should tell me what you know. Now you should tell me what you see. I think it's gonna be a very nice night. I think it's gonna be like it was all a dream. You should tell me what you know. Now you should tell me what you see. I think it's gonna be a very nice night. I think it's gonna be like it was all a dream. And any dream can turn nightmare. I'm right here looking for my buzz like Lightyear. I'm light years ahead of you cats. There's so much light here. And like here, it's bigger than rap. So I'm alright here.